Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
Good evening, our fellow lovers of love out there. I hope you're all having a good evening. And in this episode of Late Night Love, we dive into the complexities of relationships, parenting, work, and intimacy, from navigating tricky family dynamics and dealing with unexpected revelations to managing workplace challenges and exploring personal insecurities. We cover it all. Join us as we share our real life stories, offer advice, and discuss the ups and downs of love and life. And I fixed the audio issues this way, and it was very technical getting through I set it to the correct microphones. That's fixed it. Imagine, it was highly technical fix for the last week's problem, which we didn't know we had until I went to editing and went to edit. Now, that audio sounds terrible. I had to spend a lot of time fixing it.
No.
And it still didn't sound great, but it didn't sound bad. So, so there's that.
So you did a fix. Okay.
So I did have to go through and fix it.
All right.
Because it wasn't even using that camera's microphone. It was using that other camera's microphone, the one sitting on the tripod over there.
Gosh.
Yeah. So, it was all messed up. Too many things plugged into the computer, and it usually defaults to our thing. And I checked it. It was getting sound, but I didn't check where it was getting sound from. Yes. That was my technical boo-boo last week. So, but we're all fixed, and I took some time, got the lighting right, so we look good tonight. So that's nice. For those of you who are listening, we look good tonight.
And those of you who are watching, I have curlers on under my bumpy beanie.
Yeah, our showtime somehow has now landed in Lubby's late night, which is interesting. It's not late night.
I know.
But it's your late night. 6 o'clock in the evening is your late night.
It is.
Yeah.
Camera's
right there.
I go to bed after this.
I just wanted to point out your camera's there, not here. I'm going to put a camera over there, and we're going to get 2 shots, so we can have it because I thought I was bad at looking at my camera.
I like looking at you.
Yeah, I thought I was bad at looking at my camera, like on my TV show. I ignore the lights and I do, but no, I'm great compared to somebody. Don't even turn towards your camera. At least I'm facing my camera and not look at it. Everybody's seeing your shoulder. I mean, no one wants to see your shoulder, lovey. You want to see your lovely face. All right. So tonight, though, we are starting off. So night before last, I don't remember. These last few days have been into a blur. But a little clip came across my YouTube Shorts feed as I was doom scrolling, killing time because I didn't want to do any real work. And so I saw the Pearly Things person was having a discussion with some other podcaster about men and women's relationships and allegedly men's mental health. And I didn't go back and listen to the whole thing to just play the context because it wasn't important, because there is this thing in here about men's mental health that I want to discuss. They don't touch it at all, but but I want to bring up the interesting point. It's just a way for me to bring up this point. So hold on a second.
Men don't care if they're not welcomed. They don't expect people to just accept them into a group like women do, because again, men live in the real world. Women do not. We live in this play pretend world where we're given more credit for what we actually do than we do.
Mm-hmm. So I've seen you speak many times about the detrimental effects that all of these things have on men's mental health, and that they have a higher rate of suicide, they have all these things. And so I think that it's really interesting that you care a lot, seemingly, about men's mental health, but then at the same time you'll say, oh, men don't care if you're mean to them, men don't care if they're not welcomed. You say all of these things that have an impact on men's mental health. So I think to care about one, you have to recognize how it impacts the other.
What I'm saying is men understand that that's the real world, and they know there's nothing they can do to change that. Women go
There is
into
plenty that we can do.
women go into a man's world and they expect to be given special treatment and privileges.
See, here's the thing though about men don't actually care if we're accepted by the group. That's not where our mental health comes from. We don't need to be accepted by the group. We don't care. Fine. They don't like us. We don't care. That's why a single man will go out and change the world by himself. We don't care. What we actually care about is being rejected by the people we will sacrifice ourselves for. And then being told things that are, say, go be yourself, but then you can't be yourself. You're not free to be yourself.
Then you try to be yourself and you're told, no, not like that.
Not like that. Those are the things, and these are by the people who love you. We don't care about the rest of the world. We care about the people we're willing to sacrifice ourselves for. Which is why those young men who went to Vietnam and then came home and were rejected by society have such a difficult time. Because they literally sacrificed themselves. Their friends sacrificed themselves, and they were rejected by the people they sacrificed them for. That's why so many men from that generation are lost. And so you can talk about all this other stuff they were talking about. I don't care. But we have to stop judging men's mental health. How men's mental health functions is fundamentally different than how women's mental health functions. They're equally important. But we can't judge the way what we expect, the things like being accepted by the group. Those aren't the things we need. We just need to not be rejected by those we will sacrifice ourselves for. And because we will sacrifice. Men will sacrifice themselves for the people they love. Do it all the time. They will charge machine guns. They will go off to work and ruin their bodies. They will sacrifice themselves in every shape, manner, or form for those they love. And that's why if they get rejected by them, it is the worst thing they've ever experienced. The worst thing they've ever experienced isn't being rejected by the group. It's being rejected by the person who's closest to them. So if you really care about men's mental health, change the way we think about it. Stop judging it by the way women attain mental health, because we get it differently. We get it by being competent and by being loved and respected by those who we will sacrifice for. We don't need grand gestures by society. Don't care. We don't need grand gestures by those we love. Just need to know you're there for us. That's it. And it can be done in many, many ways. That's all I'm saying. For that. Okay, so we're going to hop right into relationships after all that. And I'm not sure I understood. The only question I read was the first one, and I was like, okay, it must be misstated or something, because it doesn't make much sense. All right, so let's try this.
Okay, my wife is upset about the fact that I picked her and our daughter over my mother in a medical emergency. I think she's being ridiculous, but she's acting like I betrayed her. Help. Okay. He decided to stay with his wife who was giving birth rather than go be with his mother who had fallen and hit her head and she was under medical care that he chose to stay with. He wanted to see the birth of his child.
And so his wife's upset because he didn't go see his mother.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way it's written, it sounds like because it sounded like it was talking about his wife was mad that she betrayed his wife. I go, wait, he stayed with his wife. How did he betray his wife? I'm not understanding this.
I know, but she feels that he did something wrong.
Yes. Because she's thinking about herself as a mother in 30 years or whatever it is. That's her motherly instinct has kicked in. But here's the man's calculation. I can go take care of mom after this is done.
Yes.
That's the man's calculation. Your mom's taken care of for the moment. This is a one-time thing. This is an immediate thing. Mom's safe. So when this is done, I'll go take care of mom. I'll sacrifice myself for both of you. That's his thought process. Yes, sleep is for sissies. That's that's the thought process on that. And so And of course, he doesn't understand this at this point and how to express that this is the thought process. I'm taking care of you first, then mom. I can do both. These things aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But mom was safe and stable. All I could do was kind of sit there. At least here, all I can really still do is sit here, but I can support you through something that's difficult. Mom's already taken care
The
of.
brother was with mom.
And the brother was with mom. So there's literally all he could sit there and do is play cards with his brother. I understand your wife's thing. It's her maternal instincts, maternal hormones are all flowing right. You don't get them higher than it.
Right after giving birth.
You're all in full maternal instinct mode and you have no control over any of it. And you're thinking 30 years, I want my child to be there for me. Makes sense. But one of their childs was there for her. Let men do what men do in this particular case. Now, how do you explain this to your wife? Explain to her the calculation. Because look, I'm here. You are in just as much danger, if not more, than my mother at this point. So I chose you.
And their newborn child.
Yes. I understand that that at the moment you're in a maternal instinct and you would put yourself in my mother's shoes and you wanted to be taken care of by your child. I understand that. But we were taken care of. Bob was over there. We had it covered. My plan was to take care of both of you. I can do that. I'm competent enough. And will she accept it at the moment? No, but she will in a week. Will you ever know she accepted it?
No, she's not going to tell you.
But guess what? You don't need to know.
No.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, my husband just came out as straight.
Well, I hate to tell you, your husband just came out as bi, but what he really did is no longer wants to be in this particular relationship and has used that as the final straw, and it may very well be.
Sorry.
Yeah. At this point, straight is not what that means. And you don't. It's not a switch. It doesn't work like that. But he found a different person that happens to be a woman that he wants a relationship with now. That happens, regardless of gender, ideology, sexuality, and none of that can. None of that matters when it comes to affairs of the heart, shall we say. Yeah, sadly.
Yes.
And what you do hope is that they're mature enough to have the honest and conversation. And I don't know, maybe it's as honest. Maybe he thinks it's honest. They're late 20s, mid to late 20s. So it can be as honest as he can understand about himself at the moment.
Yeah.
So give him a little slack.
Still got a ways to go.
Yeah. But no, he didn't come out as straight. He came out as bi, and essentially what it means is your relationship ran its course. And that happens in your mid to late 20s.
It does.
Yeah, it just means you didn't find your person. Which is better to find out now than in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, it's hard. Your emotions are crushed. But you know what? In a couple of weeks, you'll start picking your pieces back up. You'll start cleaning your room. You'll start taking regular showers again. You'll start finding something to enjoy in life, just like everybody else who goes through a breakup.
One day at a time.
And next thing you know, you're okay. Okay, what's next?
My boyfriend told me he would pick our baby over me in an emergency. Is it fair that I feel upset over this?
You pick your baby over him?
Wouldn't you pick your baby over him?
And here's the thought process. You are an adult human being. You have at least a chance of taking care of yourself. Your baby has no chance of taking care of itself. Now, realistically, he would do all he could to do both. But if he had a choice, you would do the same thing. And he would want you to do the same thing. Is it okay for you to feel upset about it? Well, it's not. Is it fair? Fairness or okay has nothing to do about it. You feel a little upset about it. It's human. You feel like somebody else will choose somebody other than me. It's very human, especially women. Do you expect your husband to take care of you in all circumstances and all situations?
I don't. Children come first.
Yes, and they will, except in this case. This is the case where they won't. right? If you can't get them both, you got to choose one. You're choosing the one who can't take care of themselves.
Yeah, the child. Children come first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to follow me. I'm carrying this one. Let's go. Yeah. And if he'll come back for you if he can, but that child is the first. That's the future. We're the past. And that's how men are programmed from. So we're programmed. Somehow that's also why we'll go in charge of machine gun nest. That same thing. It's saving those we love. So, but yeah, you put them. Here's ladies, don't ask these questions. Stop it. Stop talking about these things. You can't handle the truth, so don't ask about the truth. That's my thing. You know it. You'd make the same choice, and you know he'd expect you to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you really sit down and think about it, you let your emotions kind of subside. You'll know it's a logical choice. You do the same dang thing. And you know what his answer is? You better do the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
My husband lied to me, and I don't know how to react. He invested a large sum of money and lost it. And he hid it for quite some time, but she found out.
That was pure embarrassment, a fear of being rejected. That's what that was. Does it excuse it? Probably not.
No.
But that's what it was. He's embarrassed. And who's the last person he wants to have reject him because he did something utterly stupid? Does it make it right? No. But, makes it understandable. It's a very human thing to do.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's insanely human. It's insanely stupid. And the fact that you didn't want to discuss it with her first, he knew it was overly risky, but hey, she'll be insanely happy if it works. No, she wouldn't have been. She'll still have been mad. And you would have spent all that money you would have made having to take her on a trip to Europe or something to deal with her being mad. So you would have not gotten anywhere except maybe a trip to Europe. That's about what you would have gotten at that deal anyway. So here's what you work on. You work on what caused him to not want to discuss the issue with you in the first place. It's actually not the hiding the thing that's the problem. That's human. That's embarrassment. That's human. That's understandable. It's why wasn't he willing to discuss the investment beforehand? That's what you have to find out. Forget the thing. The after disaster thing. Humans do stupid stuff when they screw up big time, right? We just do. And that's excusable, slap over the head. Hell, but the real thing to be worried about is, okay, why aren't we discussing our financial situations? Why didn't you feel the need that you could come in? Okay, maybe it's a harebrained scheme, but you could at least discuss a harebrained scheme with me. Maybe we would have let you do it at a smaller scale, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you want to do some strange Bitcoin investment and it tanked. Okay, let's do it at a smaller scale, but also remember that, Bitcoin has its own things. They get shoot up, then they drop, and then you hold on to them for a couple of years and you see what their value goes. It's not a short-term investment. And yes, it's a very volatile and highly risky one. But if it pays, it pays. So maybe it would have been a more reasonable risky investment rather than, hey, I'm going to invest all the college fund and pay for your colleges in 1 year. And well, no, you take a couple grand out the college fund, put it in an investment and, and start working on how to pay it. There's things you could have worked through if you still wanted to do an investment. Yeah. Okay, fine. Here's some play money. We were going to go on vacation, but fine. Just go do your play money. We'll do a staycation instead. These are things you could have discussed. And trying to figure out why that wasn't a possibility in a relationship is the more important thing. Yeah. And maybe because he just knew it was stupid, but wanted to do it, got caught up in something, and who knows?
He thought it's going to pay off, and then she's going to be really happy, and then it'll be great. Yeah.
No, that's a justification in his own mind. There's another reason why he didn't want to discuss it with her, because she was going to give him a bunch of crap about it because it was too risky.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And, but there's a way to approach somebody if you want to go. It's like saying, hey, let's go to Vegas and gamble. All right, we're going to assume we're losing the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you can go into that. Her real upset is that you didn't discuss the investment. She actually doesn't seem overly upset about the losing of the money.
No, she don't. No.
No.
You didn't talk
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the after disaster can be explained as from human behavior, but it's the fourth thing. That's what you got to figure out, and that's what you deal with.
Yeah.
And so, okay. What's next?
My husband annoys me. How do I get him to stop telling me things I already know? Oh, man.
How much you want to bet this goes both ways? This is one of these type of relationships where it just snipping and snipping at each other without even realizing they're snipping at each other.
Oh.
Well, because one, husbands and wives annoy each other. It just happens.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It happens. It's a thing. Believe it or not.
I don't annoy you.
No way, man. Never. Never happens. We're the exception. Right? It makes the rule. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're the exception to the rule. That's it. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
We're
totally.
the one.
We're the one. Yeah. That's not true.
No.
So part of it is annoying. Now, how do you deal with it? Here's how you deal with it. Stop caring. Let it go in one ear and out the other, just like he does.
I understand where she's coming from. When this happened to me, I felt my intelligence was being insulted.
We're not. I'll guarantee you, he's not thinking that hard about it.
He's just flapping his gums.
Yep. Not in all cases, but 9 out of 10 times, just flapping his gums because we're doofuses and we just want to talk and we have nothing to say, so we're going to say whatever the hell's
Obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the good sign. He wants to talk to you. So here's the thing. Find something to talk about. When you're sitting there doing things, have a different discussion.
Get a kitty. Talk about kitty.
Whatever. If you like to talk about plants, if he's a gardener, talk about plants. If find something to have a conversation during those times when he would otherwise tell you things you'd already know. Find something different to talk about. Because what the real underlying thing is he's willing to talk to you.
He wants to talk to
He
you.
wants to talk to you. He just is a doofus and has nothing.
Doesn't have a clue.
Doesn't have a clue. So find something to talk about.
Yeah.
Something neutral, something that's maybe not on his ground or your ground. Find something neutral to talk about. Because it doesn't seem like he cares all that much. But if you start talking about your daily soaps or something, he's going to tune out. Or you talk, unless he likes that kind of thing. If you guys have a favorite show, you have something you watch together, or if you guys recently seen a movie, talk about the movie, just find something.
Yeah.
Yeah. While you're sitting there chopping vegetables or whatever, he's itching to talk to you. And he's clumsily doing it. At least take it as that and see where it goes.
Yeah. Good one.
Okay.
My boyfriend can't take his eyes off another woman in front of me.
Okay. Do you actually know what he's staring at? Just because he's staring at a direction doesn't mean that's what he's looking at. We have a tendency to stare past things and not see them deliberately, especially if we're with somebody who has issues with that. Just stare past it and you're not seeing it. How do you think men survive at gyms? We don't see any of that stuff. You can see it without seeing it.
It's a problem.
What the women deliberately walk around there in spandex and go to the gym and in front of the mirrors and do all their exercises and stuff with this line full of men forced to look at them? No, it never happens.
No, I mean, that's a problem.
Yes. We're not. Most men don't go to the gym to look at women. We go to the gym because we either like going to the gym or we're kind of forcing ourselves to go to the gym.
Right.
We're not there to ogle women.
Right. So it's a non-issue.
No, because women think you're there to ogle them, and then they plot themselves in
No.
the thing. And because you're looking straight ahead, and they happen to be in front of you, it's a whole big thing on the internet.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's just bad form.
Yeah. So, but on this one, be sure he's actually looking at the woman in front of him instead of just kind of staring off into space. We stare off into space a lot. So even if we're just staring in front of us. But 2, he's with you. He's never going to have I'm just saying she probably is feeling a little insecure rather than having this be a real problem. And maybe she has reasons to be insecure. Probably not.
Okay, that could be. But what if he's just a cad?
Well, it could be. But she would have had other clues for that being a cad.
Okay.
She didn't say my boyfriend's a cad's always looking at other women. That's a different thing. My boyfriend is always looking at other women, and that's not what her question was. There's this one woman who he's allegedly staring at in a line in front of her. Right, they're like standing in line at a grocery store at Disney World or something, and so he's sitting there staring at someone in the line ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't know. You could just be staring at a line, or she could have a really nice backside, and he is staring at it. But
Okay, how old are they?
they're mid.
She's 24. Oh goodness.
Yeah, it's just one of these things. He may or may not be staring at this woman's behind, right? But usually we don't stare. It's a nice glance. You get the nice picture, and then you can move on. And so when in fact he's sitting there staring at her, he's probably not. He's probably looking at it, just the direction he happens to be looking, and his mind is somewhere else.
Okay.
Because as a rule of thumb, we are trained from a very young age. Don't stare. We're trained not to stare. So, yeah. We don't stare. Stare just long enough to get the nice visual picture. And
Save it for later.
well, no. It's the best thing I could describe it. It's probably like a prey who's a hunting animal that's not hungry. So they'll register every bit of prey animal on the Serengeti. They're not going to get up and move, but they're going to register it in their brain. If the gazelle comes tropping by, I'm not hungry, but I am going to notice the gazelle dropping by.
I love your metaphors, son. I really do.
I'm just saying it's probably like that. It's not even our fault. It's an instinctive thing. It's not like we think about it. I'm going to go out and look at women's behinds today. That is not what happens. Okay, before I get myself in trouble, we're moving on. Okay.
Oh, I know you look.
I didn't mean trouble with you. I meant trouble with the internet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
My boyfriend keeps accidentally calling me ugly, and I don't know how to stop feeling hurt.
Accidentally?
Yeah. He says he calls her ugly. No, that's an accident. I'm sorry.
Well, they're in their young 20s, 21, 22. So he could still be talking like he talks with his friends. And you know how men talk to their friends? Insults are actually a sign of affection. So it's not impossible. But he could be struggling that she's not as attractive as he theoretically, as his imaginary, utopian girlfriend was supposed to be. And it slips out every now and again because he's young and stupid. Hasn't made the adjustment to reality yet. Now, how do you stop feeling hurt? You don't. It's not possible. He's got to change the way he interacts with you.
No.
Yeah. Now, if it's the first thing where he's treating you like he's, maybe he's a nerd and he's treating you exactly like he treats his online friends, all that stuff, it's going to take him a bit to reprogram his brain. That's why most young relationships end, because men are stupid and we actually treat you like we treat our. Oh, I just want to be treated like you treat your friends. No, you don't. We're awful to each other. We don't think of it that way, but you guys think we're awful to each other. So no, you don't want to be treated like we treat each other. You really, really don't. We don't want to treat you like we treat our friends, but sometimes it leaks out, especially when they're young. This is kind of the suspicion I have on this one. He's just instinctively.
Okay.
I'm guessing, but he's got to grow up. He's got to mature. He's got
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is why relationships at this age end. This is exactly why, because he hasn't matured enough to know that the conversations you have with your spouse and your partner are vastly different than the conversations you have with your buddies. They're just it's a vastly different tone. Even the joking, even if you're someone who likes to joke and making back and forth kind of things, you can't insult your girlfriend. It doesn't work, especially on something they might be sensitive about. You can do that to your best friend. You can insult your best friend all day long, and all he's going to do is throw him back at you. And that's fun for us. But you can't do that with your girlfriend.
You make her cry.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Because you're filling different roles. You're literally filling different roles in each other's life.
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't work. So just don't do it. Okay.
On to parenting.
Okay.
Who's drinking alcohol and parenting at the same time?
Well, I think you have to define drinking alcohol. Who's getting drunk or who's coming home and having a glass and a half of wine with dinner type of thing.
If that's what it is. Are you waiting until the kids are in bed and then you're just really hitting the sauce? That's not
well, there's a lot of
safe behavior either.
There's a lot of people who go and have their beers after work and after dinner, and it's perfectly safe and unsafe at the same time.
Yeah.
So the question is, if you are the responsible parent and you are getting yourself blackout drunk, you're doing it wrong. You can't always be on as a parent, even though you're on all the time. There has to be time where kids are in bed and you can relax with an adult beverage or adult recreation or whatever it is. There's.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about getting blotto.
Yeah. Well,
that's what this sounds like.
Well, it says who's drinking alcohol and parenting at the same time. It depends.
Okay.
If you're having a glass or two of wine, with dinner 3-4 times a week, you're probably fine.
Like average.
Yeah. If you're drinking a beer or two after, if you're drinking a glass of wine or a beer with dinner, you're fine. If you have another one when the kids go to bed, you're probably fine.
Yeah.
If you're getting blottoed where you're waking up hugging the porcelain gods, you're probably not. If you're waking up with hangovers, no, you're doing it wrong. Yeah. So there's a wide range of that. There's a difference. If you're a casual drinker, should you be doing it? No. What's interesting, speaking of alcohol, is this new generation, Gen Z or Alpha or whatever the heck it is, the new young people who are just now old enough to drink.
Mm-hmm.
They don't drink. In percentages, it's like they've essentially stopped drinking. And it's strange. Well, it's not all that strange.
Interesting.
Well, because there's other legal adult substances now.
Yeah.
And so they're choosing those instead of drinking poison.
Yeah.
Because that's what alcohol is. It's literally poison. You're literally poisoning yourself.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. What's next?
Annoyed my mom and mother-in-law are suggesting I turn my office into a playroom.
Well, how useful is your office as an office? I've sacrificed an office to make it a playroom before because that's what the family needed. Now, if your office is where you actually get actual work done, and it makes money, then okay, it's an office and it makes money. It's just some place for you to retreat and have some silence. Well, kids having their own playroom, it's its own retreat. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And you can put a desk or something in your bedroom, or I did part of the garage. There's other options you can find for your space.
I have my desk in the bedroom.
Yeah, well, I just now got an office, but even when I didn't have an office, I had an office, right? The kids.
You had a space, that itty bitty. We had what, 5 people living here, and you still had this little space.
A little space that was mine.
My poor honey.
No, it's you make do. For the people you love, you sacrifice, but you still can find your spot, your space, and something that's yours. But stop being annoyed. Think about it. Take some time and think through the whole thing, But again, if you're an independent contractor and your business is run out of that room, that's the business office. It's not just a place. It's not like a den or a gaming room where you go and sit and you watch YouTube videos and game at the end of the day. It's more useful for your family as a playroom. And that's what's most important for the next few years. So just think and consider it. There is a difference. Okay, what's next?
My ex thinks our 14-year-old's outfit will bring about the apocalypse.
Oh, well, don't you know?
She's goth.
Yeah. Oh, well.
She's a little baby goth.
Well, if goths were going to bring out the apocalypse, it would have been brought out a long time ago. Just saying. They ain't done nothing new. So no. Well, depending upon your political views, you could say that the apocalypse is here, I suppose. So, but it wasn't your daughter. It was all the other ones. So there you go. You're safe. You're fine. I'm going to leave this one at 3. No, there's...
Be serious. Man.
Yeah, I can't be serious because there's been so many goths for so long. This notion that it is kind of silly. Now, here's what's really is your ex, for whatever reason, probably religious if they're bringing up the apocalypse, thinks your daughter should dress more modestly. And, well, welcome to the age-old parenting dilemma. And one of the things we have learned in history is that trying to dictate those type of I don't dress codes is the wrong thing. That type of culture to your child, it creates a bigger response than creates more danger than letting them express themselves to a point. And if all she's doing is dressing goth and let her be.
Dyeing her hair black, purple,
Yeah. Let her be.
She's just expressing herself.
Now there does come an issue, where it starts, goes a little farther when it comes to tattoos or piercings and whatnot. And
yeah, those are a
little different. And
yeah.
So you compromise on those, but at 18, it's only 4 short years away. So my suggestion, now what do you deal with the ex? Nothing. It's okay, Bob. But my suggestion to deal with the ex is exactly that. If kids dressing goth was going to bring on the apocalypse, it would have already happened a long time ago. Her dressing goth isn't going to bring it on. I get that you don't like it, but she gets to express herself to a point.
She's allowed to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Is Disney really worth the cost? Okay, this was for a 4-year-old, and I would say no.
Not now.
Too young. 4 is too young.
Not now. There's no point. Especially these days, Disney's so flipping expensive. The one good side about Disney being expensive these days is that the lines are short. It's so expensive that people have stopped going.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So now if you can go to Disneyland or Disney World and have relatively short lines. So there's that. But at 4, Disney, if you're taking your child to Disney at 4 years old, you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for you, which is fine. I have no problem with it. Just accept it. There's nothing wrong with wanting to go to Disneyland and experience Disneyland with your 4-year-old because it's a different experience for you as an adult. If you want to do it, then do it. I don't have a problem with that. Just don't say I'm taking my 4-year-old to Disneyland. No, you're going to you're going to Disneyland with your 4-year-old. You're taking your 4-year-old to Disneyland. You're going to Disneyland. Your 4-year-old is coming with you, is essentially what's happening. But I get it. I do get it. You get to see it through a different set of eyes.
You do.
You get to re-see it through a childhood set of eyes. I do get it. Even though as cynical as Disneyland as I am, I do get it. I don't personally think it, but I understand why someone who's into Disneyland would want to go back and, why their child is still essentially young and see it through those wondering eyes. And 4-year-old, it's a lot easier to take care of at Disneyland than a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old. So it makes sense from her perspective why she'd want to do it now. So from that perspective, yeah, do it. But just understand you're doing it for you, not for your child.
And it's going to cost.
Yeah, it's going to be expensive.
It's going to be expensive.
It's going to be expensive. But I don't know if necessarily cost was her problem.
Okay.
But is it worth it for your 4-year-old? No.
No.
Is it worth it for you?
You, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
Okay, son stabbed the couch. Need help with the consequences. 6. She had a box cutter around, and he got a hold of it, and he just,
as a 6-year-old boy would, just because he's a 6-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. The lesson there is there's not much you can do to a 6-year-old boy other than explain to him that you can't do this. There's not much you can actually do.
This is my couch.
Yeah. It's the real discussion with the 6-year-old is you can't play with sharp objects.
Mm-hmm.
It's forget the couch for a minute. He could have really hurt himself.
Yeah.
And so that's, damaging the other thing. He's 6. It was going to happen if you left out the thing. It just was. Part of this is, your consequences of you leaving out a box cutter. I mean, that's the more dangerous thing.
But it could have turned out meant worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're going to punish the 6-year-old for cutting up the couch. Well, you're going to punish yourself for leaving out that box cutter.
Yeah.
And so this is one of these things where 6-year-old he's old enough to start understanding without needing punishment.
Yeah.
That you see things like this out, you can't pick them up. You're actually punishing. If there's going to be a punishment, is for picking up the box cutter, not for using it. So he's teaching them not to play with knives, not to touch the stove, all these various things that you got to teach them at 6. And this is a learning opportunity for that. There's not a punishment to do. There doesn't necessarily need to be consequences, because if there is, you need bigger ones for yourself.
Okay.
Don't punish your 6-year-old for doing something that comes natural to a 6-year-old. Punish yourself for leaving this stinging box cutter out, and use this as a learning opportunity to not touch things you shouldn't. Sharp objects, the stove, all those various things. Okay.
What are the non-negotiable life skills that you believe your child must learn? They have to learn how to cook.
Well, in the modern era, you have to learn, basic cooking, how to boil water, how to make oatmeal, the basic things, how to follow instructions. You don't actually need how to cook. You need to know how to follow recipes. That's actually a different thing than how to cook. You need to follow basic recipes. How to scramble eggs, how to make, how to cook a steak, how to chop vegetables. Okay, how to change a tire. There's other life skills.
Swimming.
Swimming. How to use a fire extinguisher.
Yes.
How not to panic in an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
How to take a second and assess the situation before you react. that is a life skill, and you can't practice it. Some of these things are life skills you don't get to practice, so you can only kind of walk through. So the basic, how to balance a checkbook.
What about driving?
Well, driving, if you're living in an urban center, if you're living in New York, LA, a lot of people don't need to drive.
Mhm.
It's not a thing. You can walk wherever you need to. So depending upon where you live, if you're in a rural area, driving is a life skill you'll likely need.
Yeah.
I
learned how to drive on a tractor. Grandpa showed me.
Yeah, it's how you learn. So yeah, basic math. I mean, really basic math. How to balance a checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
How to estimate your taxes. Those kind of how to fill out government forms. Literally, how to fill out a stinking government form.
One question at a time.
Read all your instructions. There's always this story. There's a professor somewhere in some college. He's famous. None of the students ever know when this is going to happen. But sometimes it'll go years without doing it. But every now and again, he'll give everybody their final and, read all the instructions first, blah, 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 blah. And what the instructions actually say is fill out your name, fill out the thing. And if you read all the instructions, all you really have to do is fill out your name.
Okay.
And only one student a year follows all the instructions. Everybody else takes a test. The only real part of the test is, can you follow instructions?
They did that in our junior high.
Yeah. So it's follow instructions. Just read all the instructions before you start. So take the time. So my biggest thing is take the time to think things through before you act. That's the single biggest life skill, because everything else is a byproduct of that.
Okay.
Even learning how to use a fire extinguisher. Well, okay, there's a fire that you need to use a fire extinguisher. Well, okay, remembering to pull the pin, that only can happen if you don't panic.
Yeah.
Because you can forget all your fire extinguisher training if it goes out the window the minute you start panicking. But yes, the non-negotiables: using a fire extinguisher, swimming, especially if you live in an area where water is a thing at the ocean or a lake, changing a tire, emergency procedures, CPR, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
For some, I don't know CPR, so I'm kind of throwing stones on that one. But CPR, there's a handful of life skills: balancing a checkbook, filling out forms. Yeah. Okay.
Are there any movies from your childhood you will never show your children? Old Yeller. They never saw it. I never. No.
No, there is not. My children had freedom to watch whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. I didn't put any restrictions on them.
I warned them, but I didn't tell them they couldn't watch anything.
Well, because anytime you warn your children not to watch something, okay, anytime I would tell my children not to watch anything, the first thing they're going to go do is find it and watch it. It's like, Dad doesn't want me to see it. And I remember my daughter, she came to me, I shouldn't have watched that movie. Well, why did you? I told you not to watch it. Oh, you're killing me. And so it was just like a challenge for my kids or something. So fine, watch whatever you want. And they stuck to, Phineas and Ferb and the nice kid-friendly stuff. For the most part, you didn't feel the need to go off and look into the movies and things they shouldn't be watching, because they could anytime they wanted to. So they never felt the need. Well, not never, but yeah. The one time I warned them that you really don't want to watch that one. Yeah, guess who went and watched it? So, so telling them there's a movie that I don't want them to see, yeah, that's not gonna work. So,
Well, it said you will never show your children.
Yeah, no. But here's a better question: what movies do you make sure your children see?
That's a good question.
Because mine is make sure your children see The Princess Bride at least once, just because it's a good, fun movie for kids. It's got just enough jump scares and stuff in it, while still having the kind of wholesome feeling throughout the whole thing, while also teaching many life lessons.
Mine is It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh God, shoot me! It just. I want to drive off the bridge instead of. I'll take your place, dude. No, I get why it was a classic. I really do. I understand. You put it in its time frame,
Yes.
and I completely understand it. And it's not unwatchable. I've just seen it too many times.
Well, I watch it like 5 or 6 times every year.
Well, I understand. And remember, we watch things the same thing over and over and over again. So they're over here. So, but it's just seen it far too many times in my lifetime. It's got nothing to do with you.
Okay.
You grow up with it, right? I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, it was a thing. We didn't have the Hallmark channels and all the new ones. We got the same recycled ones over and over and over again. And so you had to see that thing 6 times a year, or 6 times a week every year. It was awful. So it has less to do with the movie. But it's, again, in those movies in the day, they're a little overacted, deliberately so.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm not that's why I don't like plays, because plays are deliberately overacted, and overacting annoys me. Just does.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not a big, huge William Shatner fan despite being a Star Trek fan. Because he can't help himself.
He can't.
It's like it's Shatner. It's its own thing now. You pull a Shatner, right? When you just completely overact for no matter what. Yeah.
That's called pulling a Shatner.
Yeah, you pull a Shatner. Yeah. So it's all right. It annoys me. So I don't know why. It just does. I don't have a reason for it. There's no valid reason for it to annoy me other than it does. I don't need a valid reason. It just does. Okay.
We're on more questions now.
Okay.
Put in my 2-week notice, and now they're giving me a hard time. Okay to quit before the 2 weeks?
Yes. 2 weeks is a courtesy.
It's a courtesy, yeah.
Yeah. It's not a requirement unless it's in your contract. But most contracts are, you're an at-will employee in most states, which means they can fire you essentially anytime you want, which means you can leave anytime you want.
You really can?
This isn't France.
No.
In France, you can't quit. You're not allowed, because you have so many worker protections that they had to put in employer protections. It's so hard to fire people and things. Well, so they make it hard for you to jump ship and change jobs. Yeah. So it's awful. But so yes, it's perfectly fine to quit. So actually what they're trying to do is trying to get you to quit before your 2 weeks.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So make everybody happy and go ahead and move on. Take a couple days off before you start your new endeavors or whatever it is.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Today, a coworker bent down multiple times in front of me, showing me her thong.
Now, did she bend down and her hot thongs happened to show, or did she bend down to show you her thong? Those are just 2 different things. Stop looking. There's my answer to that. There it is. Actually, regardless of which one it is, don't look.
Don't look.
And if you happen to see it, don't say it. You sure in hell don't say anything. Just pretend it never happened. Okay.
Boss wants me to stay late every day while pregnant.
And does the pregnancy actually have anything to do with it, or does it just happen they're in a busy time and then you just...
Well, they're in a busy time and but she's pregnant. She doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. Okay, so it's got nothing to do with her pregnancy, the staying late thing. It's just them wanting her to stay late is not pregnancy related. No,
it's not.
It's job thing related. So,
but she's going to pull the pregnancy card.
Yes.
And get out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is valid. It's not an invalid depending upon where you are in your pregnancy. 3 months in, 6 months in. Those are 2 different stages of pregnancy. I'm not going to give you much slack at a 3-month in. Yeah, okay, you're using a lot of energy for growing a thing, and I understand that, but you know, you want to be treated like a normal worker at this time still, you know. Now at 6 months, when you start to the point where you're obviously pregnant, it's different. Because it's just harder to move around. Moving around takes more energy than
It does.
Yeah. It's not just the baby's growing using energy. It's simply existing uses more energy.
It does.
So it depends. Yeah. Where she is in her pregnancy. If you're, you know, sometimes you got to suck it up for your employer during a busy period of time. And sometimes your employer gives it back to you on the other side. So that's kind of depends on the quality of the employer. This is going to be my answer here. I've actually finally worked my way to it. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure out my correct answers on this one. It really depends on the quality of your employer. If you've got a low quality employer who asks you for things and doesn't give it back to you on the other side, right? Who doesn't reciprocate. I need you here when, you know, things are busy, but we give you flexibility on the other side when we're not, right? We don't care. Go ahead, be 15 minutes late. We're fine. You know, they give you the kind of flexibility. But so when they ask you for something, yeah, you're kind of have a little bit more moral obligation to put up.
Okay.
If they're a poor quality employee and they do the opposite, then yeah, no, I'm working my 8 hours. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really depends. And, you know, where she is on her pregnancy. If she's actually showing type of thing, you know, it's hard to get around. You're 5-6 months. It's a different thing than 2 or 3.
It is.
Okay.
Is there a best time to wake up before work?
That's the best time is dependent upon your body chemistry and clock and how you need. Like I'm different. I get up and I get dressed and I walk out the door essentially. I always have. I never need or want wake up time. It's not how it works for me.
You don't want to do some things at home before?
No, that's just annoying. Now I have to calculate how much time I've got before. No, screw all that. That calculation is done from the time I got up. I've got. No, I don't want to do that. But other people, they need their breakfast routine. They need to sit down. They need to, you know, have to take time slower.
Yoga.
Whatever you need. So it's whatever you need. You backtrack. How long does my wake up routine take? When do I need to leave? Which creates your time you need to wake up, which creates your time you need to go to bed. And then you work your clock around that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no correct answer except your correct answer. So figure it out. If you're someone who doesn't need much time before you're ready to go in the morning, then your clock is vast. Then your answer will be vastly different than someone who cannot function without the morning shower, the morning coffee.
Read the newspaper.
Do their daily business. You know, all that stuff can take a couple hours sometimes. Go to work out. You know, there's people have their daily routines.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Do people last longer in jobs when they act neutral and candid instead of happy?
Well, one, people last longer in jobs when they don't have to act. When they can just be who they are. If you're a naturally grumpy person and you're in a job that kind of allows you to be naturally grumpy, here's the thing. You're going to be less grumpy.
Yeah.
If you're a naturally happy person and you work at a place that you and this grumpy person can both function perfectly fine, then that's the kind of place people like to be because they can be themselves. So people last longer in jobs where they get to be themselves.
Yes.
You want to know the single biggest, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but the single biggest job satisfaction factor is being able to get your job done.
Yes.
Not having to put up with a bunch of stuff to just want to get my job done. That's the single biggest thing in job satisfaction. So, yeah, how you act is not really relevant in how long you stay. It's can you be yourself? Can you get your flipping work done?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Written interview question. What would you like this job to not include?
Well, I suppose that's going to have to, it's going to depend on the job. How you answer that question. It's just odd question. It is an odd question, though.
It is.
It makes me wonder what the job is for.
Uh,
Because there has to be something. Like, is it a marketing job? And you don't want to have to deal with Facebook? You know, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with doing marketing. I just don't want to deal with Facebook. You know, whatever it is. Is it a janitorial job? You don't have to clean the women's restroom? I don't know. Is it a programming job? You don't have to deal with COBOL? You know, I don't know. So the way you answer this is one of these exclusionary questions. They actually don't care so much about the answer, the exact answer. They're trying to figure out your personality. So think about it is, what's your biggest pain point as an employee when you're an employee? Needless bureaucracy, you know, a manager who doesn't listen. So think about something deeper.
Office door.
Yeah, try and think about something deeper and your a pain point, and find a way to twist that into I'd really not to have to like to, you know, it's the specific answer is so dependent on what the job actually is.
Okay.
So it's hard to give a specific answer.
Yeah.
But just be very thoughtful, because that's an exclusionary question. They're looking for you to give an answer that makes it easy for them to say no to you.
Mm.
And so I don't know if it's a cultural question or if it's a technical question or a process question. It's going to depend. But that's an exclusionary question. They're looking for, oh, that's a no. So be very careful answering it, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for something to exclude you. And I don't know what it is because it's too vague. Need more details. Okay.
What does a porter part mean in the job title kitchen porter?
It means you carry stuff around. You take care of all that. You're essentially a gopher. A porter is essentially a gopher. Your job is to do all the little things that need to get done so everybody else can get their work done. It's insanely important. Right? You're the guy who changes the light bulbs, the guy who takes up, you know. So all the stuff in terms of kitchen porter, you're the one who runs to the you know, the storage to get whatever the chefs need out of storage. You do whatever the chefs and the people in the kitchen need you to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're a porter. And, you know, historically porters carry things, but they do all those, air quotes here, menial tasks that need to get done so other people who are more experienced can get their work done.
Yes.
It's where you start. It is is the first rung on the ladder. It may even be below dishwasher, to be honest, depending upon the kitchen you're in. If you're in a high-end kitchen, it may be below dishwasher. You know, you may be the guy help assisting the dishwasher, taking the clean dishes back and bringing in the dirty dishes. You know, that may be part of your job. You actually may be lower than the dishwasher. There's nothing wrong with it. Let's be clear.
But you got to start somewhere.
In a high-end restaurant,
It's a job.
getting in is hard. So, you know, if that's a high-end restaurant, getting in, where you've got a kitchen porter, that's a high-end restaurant. Getting in is hard. That's an accomplishment. So, and these jobs need to get done. That's why they hired you.
Yeah.
So it's not unimportant. The restaurant doesn't work without everybody filling their tasks. So it's not unimportant. It feels unimportant, right? Hey, can you clean the grease out that drain? Yeah, it feels unimportant. But if that drain grease doesn't get cleaned out, this restaurant gets shut down. So guess what? Your job is as important as anybody else's.
It is.
It just pays less because lots of people can do it, theoretically. But still, do it the best you can. And pretty soon you'll move up that ladder, because if you can do that porter job with a good attitude, then they'll want you around to do more important things.
Mm-hmm.
And again, air quotes, important.
Important.
Okay.
Okay, now we have our intimacy question.
Okay.
My boyfriend forces himself to have sex with me. He's massively insecure,
Yeah. So
but he's making himself do it.
dealing with anxiety disorder and pushing
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
Congratulations. He cares about you enough to force himself to go through something that's insanely uncomfortable. Congratulations. He cares about you. That's what that means. What that means. He wouldn't do it for anybody, for just anybody.
Mhm.
You don't go through hell for just anybody. Understand that, getting through this part is hell for him in many ways. Once you get started, it's probably not, but the going from 0 to 1 is probably hell.
Mm.
And so, give yourself a little pat on the back. That's the start of him learning how to climb mountains and become something he wasn't able to do before. It can impact the rest of his life without you actually knowing it. Because if he can do this, then it gives him confidence to go out and try a new job that he hasn't tried before. Go to class that he hasn't tried before because he was afraid to try. These are the things that, finding the right partner can do for a young man. Having someone who cares about you enough to suffer through this uncomfortable with him, gives you a lot of confidence to take on the rest of the world. We talked about at the beginning of the show.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't care about the rest of the world. We do care about the person we're willing to sacrifice ourselves for. He's sacrificing part of himself for you. So I hope she understands that. It's actually quite beautiful.
It is.
So I hope she understands that.
Yeah.
Rather than her feeling like, why is he having to force himself?
Yeah. She was wondering if there was something wrong with her.
No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are doing everything right. Suffer through it a little longer. It'll pay off. It'll pay off big in the long run. Trust me. He will love you forever. Okay.
How long do you wait before sleeping with someone?
Oh, that's a complicated question.
It really depends on the couple.
Well, it depends. First, it depends on your own personal morality, right? You've got your own personal thing. How do you feel about casual relations and all that kind of thing? What's your religious perspective? And there's all kinds of things to take into account when it comes to that. Then you've got your tolerance toward, STIs and STDs and all that various stuff. Because even with protections, nothing's 100%. So, how well do you want to risk all that? And so there's all that. Plus, then, the natural horniness of the human animal and dealing with that. So there's no direct single answer. There is your answer.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 6 dates. Maybe it's 6 months of dates. Maybe I've known you for 6 minutes. Let's go find a room. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but the answer is your answer. And just my suggestion is make sure even if you're going to do the 6-minute thing, make sure you do it thoughtfully. Make sure you understand what you're doing so you don't regret it later, even if you regret it. Yeah. Well, that was uneventful, boring, shouldn't have done that. But, you went into it at least knowing what you were getting into. So, so you're not a victim.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to have sex. Okay, she's 24 and she's a virgin.
Uh-huh.
And her hormones, she's like, no, I need it now.
Okay.
And
So, she's a 24-year-old woman. What has been the barrier to this point? Do we have
well, she wants a connection.
Okay, she's a 24-year-old woman. What's been the barrier to this point?
She wants to have sex. Everybody just wants to have sex, but she wants to have a connection first.
Okay, then she doesn't
And
just
they-
want to have sex.
And they won't do it.
She does. Then she doesn't just want to have sex.
I guess not.
So the problem is she hasn't found someone with whom she's has a deep enough connection with to want to engage in sexual relations, which is perfectly fine. But she's what she's understanding is that when you're out looking for sex, you're just going to find people who are looking for sex. If you're out looking for a relationship, which is what she really wants,
Yes.
you're going to have to go out and look for people who are looking for a relationship. You're going to have to drop the want sex thing. If you don't want to have people who just want to have sex, then you have to stop looking for sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. That's
Okay. Everybody knows that after you date for however long you decide, after dating comes sex. It just happens. Yeah. So
you don't need to worry
you
about the
don't-
sex.
it's a given that you both want sex.
That will happen
at some point.
At some point, yeah.
Yes.
So you focus on finding the relationship.
Work on the relationship first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the sex will come. It will. That will solve its own problem.
It
If you really
will.
just want to have sex, you're a 24-year-old woman. You can likely go out and have sex tonight if you really wanted to. If all you wanted to do is break it off and get it over with, a 24-year-old woman can pretty much do that at will.
Pretty much.
Yeah, not that hard. The hard part is checking which method you're going to use to do it. It's deciding which method. You're going to go to Hinge, or you're going to go to, you're going to use. There's a million ways for women to go find an available partner, but she doesn't want to do that. She wants a relationship.
Yeah.
And her hormones are clouding her perspective on that.
So you need to slow your roll there.
Or you need to just get it over with. Maybe, go find the closest thing to a partner you've come across and just go get it over with, so it's over with. And it's been done many a times. I'm not necessarily suggesting it. I'm just saying it's an option. Okay.
Why does my husband orgasm quicker during masturbation than during sex? And this is kind of annoying.
Why is it annoying?
She'd like him to kind of move it along.
Well, gee, how exciting. I wonder why it takes him so long. Gee, how fun. Sounds thrilling. I'm all revved up to ready to go now. Good Lord. Well, let's think, because masturbation has it's very easy, right? You can just you know your own combination, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing else getting in the way. You don't have to worry about another person. It makes sense. And normally, most people prefer it to take longer. I mean, for normal. So try to change your attitude towards your sexual relations with your husband would be my suggestion. Because it doesn't seem to me like she's going into it with a
real loving attitude.
Yeah. I suppose you give her credit for taking one for the team, but there comes a point where you wonder you're kind of creating your own. If you want it to last shorter, it's got to be exciting. And if you're not making it exciting, then you're going to take longer. So if you want it to end faster, reach into your bag of tricks and
lingerie.
Yeah. Okay.
A couple of years ago, I almost got caught masturbating a couple times. And ever since then, I can't have an orgasm alone or with a partner. How to overcome it?
Well, she also says or get wet. That's a medical thing, and those timings may just be, that timing could just be coincidence. If you're having trouble lubricating yourself at 23, that's a medical issue. That's not a psychological issue.
Okay.
I'm just because these things a couple of times. She almost got caught a couple of times, and it does not create a medical. Those things aren't related. There's something else going on.
Okay.
I'm guessing she's having a medical issue.
Okay.
So go see a doctor.
All right.
Have that discussion with your doctor, because I don't see how those two things become. And maybe it is. Maybe you go talk to your doctor about it, and your doctor sends you to a therapist. That may be the answer, but I'm guessing there's a medical issue, chemical imbalance, something. Who knows?
Maybe a chemical imbalance. Yeah.
Yeah, she's 23. Hormones are all changing, so there's all
Okay.
kinds of things. Or she could have gotten, she could have gotten a cold or a flu or something, and things get out of whack all the time for all kinds of reasons.
Okay.
Maybe she changed her diet at the same time.
Birth control.
Birth control changes, screw things up. Yeah, there's all kinds of theoretical answers, but some of these things don't connect. So it's something else. Okay.
Not sure if I really want sex or if I'm just afraid of falling behind. So this one is like 20
Falling behind.
and
It's not a race. So there's not a race. There's not a finish line on this kind of thing. So there's no falling behind. Life is not a race. There's my very first suggestion on this one. Stop treating it as a race. You're not in competition with your friends. You don't need a body count. It's not how this should work. Don't compare yourself to others, to the world around you. Compare yourself to who you want to be. And if you're not really sure, then you don't want to. Sex is something you want.
yes.
Now, if you continue to have lack of desire, there may be a hormone issue. Again, birth control, there's all kinds of things that can mess with that. But if you just hadn't found the right person, if it's not a general lack of desire, it's just there's no one I feel like having intercourse with, that's perfectly natural, and
It
stick
really
with it.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Don't force yourself.
Yeah, there is no such thing as falling behind.
No.
You're not a race. You're not running the 100-meter sprint. You're not running a marathon. You're not in third place. You're not in 1 billionth place. No one's, those people who are sitting there racking up their body counts, and then it's kind of pathetic when you think about it. So don't. Just be yourself. Don't worry about what others are or not doing, because you may not be getting the truth and the consequences. And even if you are getting the truth, you're not getting the consequences.
Yeah.
People don't tell you the bad sides of everything they experience. Yeah, they tell you they had a good fun night, but they don't tell you that they had to go to the clinic the next week. So
Mm-hmm. No, they failed to mention that.
yeah, they fail to mention those parts, or
Yeah.
they fail to mention that, they have lots of intimate partners, but they have no one to call on when their car breaks down. They have no one to call on and bring them soup when they're sick. They have no one there when they want to celebrate. Their life is empty. Sure, it's fun, but it's empty. And you don't want that. And I guess we're leaving it on that tonight, Lovey.
Yes, we are.
We are out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed this journey. Have a good week. And please remember, for me and Lovey, to love everybody.
Good night.